Hello, Tipton Baptist Church. This is your Friday Word of Encouragement, Friday, September 3rd, 2021. I come to you as we head into our Labor Day weekend, a weekend where we're a couple of weeks into the school year. We are getting ready to begin a series in Acts chapter 4, looking at the early church and seeing what it is that they've modeled for us to see as an example of being Christ-like and truly Christian in our life and lifestyles and pursuits, what they did for or in relation to disciplines and how they communicated to one another and to God and to the world. And so a lot's happening right now, I think, in terms of where God would have us go and what we're to learn in this church as we're hopefully going to grow to know Him personally. While we're looking at what's all that's coming, Labor Day weekend, and all of the fall activities that may commence, and all of the happenings of a school year, if you have children or grandchildren, there's all kinds of fall activities related to those things. Our pursuits must be lived out in such a way that Christ is still revealed, as busy as we get. This is hard. It's hard for me, it's hard for you. I don't believe it's an easy thing. When you have even one or two things on your plate any given week that you need to accomplish, with all that goes on with church and all the needs that there are outside of church, to really be Christ-like and evident that your Christ-likeness is present as instinct, not as anything else. That our living and pursuits reveal Christ by instinct, just because that's how we're growing to know Him. We reflect Him so clearly, just out of instinct. Some questions are going to be able to be raised as we enter into this fall, though, as we enter into this series on Acts. And my encouragement to you today comes stemming from or rooted in a text that you'll hear on Sunday morning. It's from John chapter 14. Let me read it to you. In John 14, verses 1 through 6, we hear these words from Jesus, a response from one of His disciples, and then some more words from Jesus. And that's going to launch us into some thinking where we'll ponder and hopefully ask some questions. The text of John 14 reads this way: "Your heart must not be troubled. Believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many dwelling places. If not, I would have told you. I'm going to prepare a place for you. If I go away and prepare a place for you, I will come back to receive you to myself, so that where I am, you may be also. You know the way I am going, and you know where I am going." And Thomas said, "Lord, we don't know where you're going. How can we know the way?" And Jesus said, of course, the verse that is fairly well known in Christendom, John chapter 14, verse 6. Jesus told them, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." As we think of our pursuits this fall, and as we consider all the activities that go on for our lives during the fall and the busyness that really begins to boil up, we think of doing what we do in such a way that reflects our Christ-likeness because of love for Him, because of our knowing Him and loving Him, that our doing what we do would just reflect Him, and it would be natural, it would be instinctive. Some questions show up, though. How do we do that? Well, we do that by remembering, first of all, Jesus is the way. It's the way to live life with a joy as busy as it gets in the fall, leading up to the holidays, where it's really busy. Keep remembering that Jesus is the way. Remembering that Jesus is truth. He doesn't just have truth to offer. He is truth. Everything He says is true. All of His thoughts are true. All of His intentions are true and based upon the reality of Him being truth. All that He's ever done and said is true. He's the way, the truth. He can be relied on, and He's the life. And this is where the questions will come up. Well, He's the life. I don't have a life in the Father except through Christ. Well, how do I exhibit Christ's life in me, the likeness or the reflection of Christ in me, when I get so busy? When there's so much needed at church, and I feel like I should do some more, but I can't because I'm busy and my life is this way or that way. Come back to remember that there's not a moment in our days that Jesus is not present. There's not a moment in our days that Lord willing, we live in a 24-hour period any given day. There's not a moment in our days that's not enough time to do what He's called us to do. He hasn't created us in a time, any day particularly. He has not called us in a time to accomplish a work where He has not seen fit to create the time for us to accomplish it. We get too busy, myself included. to do the things that he's called us to accomplish, where we can instinctively reflect him. Jonathan Edwards has a few statements I want to bring into this. Of course, I'm going to go to some smart old dead guys here, some good theologians from the past and preachers. He asks this in his writing called Religious Affections, which, by the way, if you wish to read something that's going to challenge you in your faith and challenge you in ways that will probably provoke you to want to be godly, I encourage you to read Jonathan Edwards, anything you can get your hands on, and specifically his book, Religious Affections. It's his writings. He wrote it as a young man. I have actually a copy of his writing that's easier to read than the Old English he wrote it in, so if you're interested, please let me know. But Jonathan Edwards, he says this in his Religious Affections. He asks a question, and the question is, what are the distinguishing qualifications of those that are in favor with God and entitled to his eternal rewards? What are the distinguishing qualifications of those who are in favor with God? In other words, those who are believers saved by grace through faith. What are the qualifications? And that are distinguished, that are known, that are evident, that are seen, that entitle such people to God's eternal rewards. Namely, looking forward to, without any doubt, having full confidence in heaven forever in our future. What are the qualifications that distinguish that person where you know they're aimed at heaven? And those qualifications are largely found, I believe, in remembering John 14, verses 1 to 6, especially verse 6. Remembering Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. He has created me for a work to reflect him well in. He has created me in time. And the time he's created me and created for me is enough time to accomplish the things that he has called me to do. But not just accomplish them, to do it in a way that reflects we trust him and that we're leaning on him. And not by adding too much to our plate. Not by doing so much that we're doing everything sort of half-heartedly and not excellently. There's a way that the Christian can do things that vividly reveals the distinguished qualifications they hold and are confident of, that heaven is in their future and that they're reflecting Christ well. This is somewhat deep. I want to take us deeper. I want us to be a church that matures. As young as I might be in relation to some of you, I want to mature, and I want that for you. And I desire that if we spend enough time in Acts looking at this model of the habits and the disciplines of the church, you'll find many of those habits heralded and supported by guys like Jonathan Edwards. And Jonathan Edwards was absolutely and fully leaning on the disciplines as we see in his word, specifically in Acts 4. So find some encouragement here. Get into Acts 4. Read some Edwards. Read some other good theologians that challenge people to have disciplines, spiritual disciplines. Read some authors that encourage, like Oswald Chambers or Charles Spurgeon, who encouraged their parishioners as they had pastored years ago, that encouraged the parishioners to spend time remembering Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, and that life in him causes our lens to our lives to be lived in such a way that it's evident we have distinguishing qualifications and characteristics of one who is heaven-bound and reflect Christ well because of how we engage our daily lives. So go deep with me. Let's grow this fall. Let's be mature. Let's grow into the kind of Christian that is the example for the generation that is coming behind us. Let's be the next group of Acts 4 Christians in 2021 for those coming behind us in 2031. Let's be the kind of people who have such a hunger and thirst for coming to be like Christ because he's worthy to follow and to model our lives after, to speak like. He's worthy to look at the pursuits that he had and pursue them. He's worthy to look at the things that he loved and to love them. Let's be those Christians, and let's give an example for the group coming behind us who desperately need examples of modern Christians living this way. Let's do that for them. Let's prepare ourselves. Let's get ready. Labor Day weekend's ahead. The beginning of a new series is upon us. Much is to be had. Much growth, much excitement, perhaps some tears, some great conviction, ultimately knowing God in new and refreshing ways where he's bigger than ever. I believe that's in store. So I look forward to growing with you and learning with you. Please share this with anyone else in the church if you wish for them to know where we're hopefully going to be heading here in the fall. And you, of course, as always, give me a call or give me an email or text if you'd like to talk. I'm available. So until Sunday, stay in the Word. I will see you then.